They believed she was invisible. The maid who glided soundlessly through the mansions of endless corridors, bearing trays and sweeping floors no one else dared to touch. To them, she was only another shadow. But one careless moment turned everything around. The billionaire's son accidentally discovered a truth so unbelievable it could destroy the very fabric of his family's wealth and pride. What he discovered wasn't only a secret. It was a tale of stolen dignity, hidden injustice, and a struggle that wouldn't remain hidden. The question is whose justice will finally be served. For years, Amara existed in another person's shadow of wealth. Every morning at dawn, she crept through the gates of the mansion, her uniform crisp, her head bent, her heart weighed down. To the family, she was just the maid, a silent presence fading into the background, invisible and unknown. But behind those bent-down eyes stood a woman bearing a whole lot more than the burden of dust and dishes. The billionaire's mansion was a universe of sparkling chandeliers, glittering marble, and spaces so enormous that they seemed to reverberate with silence. Amara was familiar with every inch of it, but she possessed nothing in its rooms. She toiled ceaselessly, always mindful not to cross the line, because she grasped one thing. In this home, errors were not pardoned, they were amplified. And for her, a black woman in a privilege-based world, even perfection was never sufficient. But still, she moved day after day, her own life a soft rhythm of survival and service. No one saw the way her hands shook when she would dust the family photographs, or the way she could not help but look too long at the son who bore his father's same cold smile. Amara carried a secret buried so deep that it would almost drown her, and soon it would no longer remain concealed. Amara had long ago discovered that silence was its own form of armor. In the mansion, it was safer not to talk, safer not to be seen. But no armor is forever. It began with whispers, a lost piece of jewelry, a suspicious look, a careless comment from the mistress of the house regarding how things tended to disappear when certain individuals were present. Amara swallowed the hurt, kept her head down, and worked all the harder, as if mere effort could drive away suspicion. But suspicion, once sown, spreads like a weed. The son of the billionaire was other, or so she had believed. He was less arrogant than his father, but no less the confident man who had never had to doubt where he belonged. One night, meandering the halls, he came upon something that he was not supposed to find. Amara, in a storage room, holding an old box of photographs and letters. They were not jewels. They were not booty. They were shreds of her existence, bits of a tale that the family would never be interested to learn. But curiosity is a cruel mistress. Rather than ask, he jumped to conclusions. Why would Maid defend something so violently unless it was not hers? That seed of mistrust took root quickly, and the walls soon closed in on Amara. Doors previously open to her now crashed shut. The other servants started eyeing her with frigid stares, their silence a verdict before even a trial. One evening, she discovered that her belongings were strewn over the floor of her tiny servant's room. Someone had rifled through them, ripping apart the small privacy she was left with. Among the letters that were scattered about was one that was to reveal the truth she had battled so strenuously to conceal. A tie to the very family she served, a tie pinned not in allegiance but in blood. Amara stood still. She had lived her life thinking silence was safety, but safety had been an illusion the entire time. The family who preyed on obedience, who grew on her silence, had now decided she was guilty of something, of everything. And the worst part? She hadn't even spoken yet, because what Amara was carrying wasn't just her secret any longer. It was evidence of a legacy the family wished to bury, a legacy that, if exposed, could destroy their name and wealth. The mansion's walls seemed to exhale on her, closing in closer with each step. No longer was she the maid. She was a threat, and threats, in homes founded on power and bias, were never permitted to remain upright for long. What would happen next would determine if Amara's truth would ever see the light, or be killed with her. The meeting arrived unannounced. The family assembled in the formal dining room, crystal glasses sparkling under a chandelier that cost more than Amara would make in her lifetime. She had been called, not invited. Her box of letters, the sole items of her reality, lay open on the long polished table like testifying in a trial she never consented to. The son of the billionaire stood at their center, eyes blazing, voice dripping with accusation. He talked of theft, of betrayal, of ungrateful servants who forget their station. Every word cut harder than the one before. Amara's chest constricted. She had cleaned these floors, served their food, effaced herself so they could shine, and now her very existence was on trial. But then the son raised one letter. His voice broke. It wasn't a crime he was holding, it was evidence. Evidence that his own father had once crossed boundaries of power and color, bequeathing a child the family scrubbed out of history. A child who became the maid, standing in silence before them. The room grew quiet, thick with a truth nobody wished to voice. Amara's secret was not shame, lineage. She was not the help. She was blood. But rather than acceptance, fury flared. The patriarch thumped his fist on the table, the chandelier quivering above. He denounced her a liar, an opportunist, one who dared sully their heritage. The staff glanced away. Nobody stood up for her. Amara's hands trembled, not with fear, but with decades of silence shattering at once. She knew then, truth did not equate justice. Here, in this household, in this family, the hue of her skin weighed heavier than the blood that connected them. And while the family conspired her destiny in hushed, poisonous whispers, one question hung more substantial than the chandelier suspended from the ceiling. Would the world ever get to hear her story, or would they bury her with it? Amara departed that evening from the mansion with only the clothes on her body and the box of letters clutched to her chest. The doors closed behind her, as if barring her from a world where she had never really belonged. She had washed years off the mirror of their shining floors with her own face, but the instant she asserted her truth, they wiped her away with a single swipe. But exile is defeat not always. Beyond those golden walls, her tale came to be told. They spoke of the maid who was other than a maid, of the family secret too great to remain buried. Some called it rumor. Others saw it for what it was. A mirror held up to the silence, denial, and hypocrisy black voices have endured for centuries. Amara's suffering wasn't hers alone. It resounded in every worker instructed to stay in their place, in every truth rejected because it was uttered by someone the world wouldn't see. Her fight became a symbol, a reminder that justice isn't just the absence of deception, but the strength to confront painful truths. The mansion remains, its chandeliers still sparkling, but their sheen is forever tarnished by the tale they sought to suppress. And thus, the question persists, how many more such voices like Amara's need to be lost before the world finds that dignity, justice, and truth are not privileges, but rights? Because silence may shield power, but only truth liberates us.